Hello there everyone and welcome back. It's time to round off our all 12 of the factions that we have access to. And the last, but certainly by no means least, since technically I kind of start off with the Aeldari and I'm going to finish off with them in the Corsairs. So this is a nice roundabout, isn't it? Never mind the fact that we're going to continue with the theme potentially with the pulsars and torpedoes, and interestingly enough there's going to be some nerfs being had to the Asuryani, especially on the torpedo front, so I'm interested to see how that's going to work out. Don't know how I feel about torpedoes only having a single charge, mind you, but interesting nonetheless, since the cruisers are kind of okay since they technically fire two sets of torpedoes at once if you compare them at least to the Corsairs, where even the cruisers are kind of stuck and only firing 4 torpedoes at a time. Nope, this is the wrong variant. Eclipse does not... Yeah, there we go. Even the cruisers, unlike everything else, I talked about how the Asuryani are kind of weird in that their cruisers fires 8 torpedoes. Of course, Eldar, the Corsairs, and Armada 1 were the oddballs for the opposite reason. Even their cruisers, and battle cruisers technically with the Vol and that, fired only 4 torpedoes. So I don't know what to think on this. They are by no means... well, what am I trying to say? They are certainly the most powerful torpedoes, so you need to take these super seriously, but it remains to be seen their durability, since I have no idea how much more durability these torpedoes have, if they have any in all honesty. It makes no note of that anywhere here. So we're left to assume, but nonetheless, completely ignoring armor is really damn potent in comparison with the other factions, and this will be mainly the fleet I will be fielding. I've been playing around a tiny bit with the Void Stalker, especially in the 1000 point battle, which I guess might be made more baseline in the upcoming patch. It remains to be seen. But I'm interested to show off how this will work there. It's not quite the starcannons that everyone's so fond of, I'm sure, but nonetheless, this is kind of what Eldar were all about before, relying heavily on their pulsars in Armada 1, although, mind you, it was all about bombers and not so much torpedoes, since I don't really think anyone really realized how powerful the torpedoes potentially were. Hell, they were twice as durable in Armada 1 just because they had like a built-in dodge mechanic similar to how the fighters and bombers do. But that's not apparent here, as I already mentioned, so it remains to be seen if that's still true with how powerful torpedoes potentially are, especially with the limited charges. But this should be a fun time, and it should definitely be a different change of pace, at least from what you're used to. And on the plus side, you get to see a bit more of the Eldar's perspective of things, so maybe you could see what really scares them if nothing else, since I had hard times with death balls and kind of forced to cap a lot of points, to kind of encourage them to spread out some. So let's put that in action, here's hoping. Alright, Tau. Protector Tau at that. It took me a little time to actually recognize the different nuances between the logo, which is kind of odd. And that was a fast loading process, I gotta say. I'm a little bit surprised in my opponent, since I'm the one with the solid state drive here, and I'm not used to immediately diving right into the deployment screen, or at least the introduction. But Tau are going to be interesting. I was going to say if I was facing off against the Imperial Navy or any of the other factions, that since they're really narrow on the front, and I have to attack from the side, at least with my torpedoes to get the best possible damage, or at least the best chance of doing damage, that I kind of can avoid them relatively well because they're not really moving towards me doing that. But in the case of Tau Protector, that's a little bit different, since all their weapons are kind of affixed to the prow or either turrets. And come to think of it, how the hell do I want to deploy there? My opponent has an easy position to just turtle 3 points there. This may not... If I'm going to be honest, this is probably a bad layout for me, since one of the main strengths that, or best ways to kind of punish an Eldar player, at least one that's more hit and run centric like my fleet, is you could just sit in between 3 points and let them come to you ideally. And this is kind of... I wish I had this when I was playing Mechanicus or Imperial Navy against Eldar. Good God. If I win this, it's definitely going to be as underdog. I want to argue at least. Sure, you may disagree, but I'm the one playing Eldar right now, at least with the pulsar setup. It remains to be seen if that's true, but I feel like I'm going to have to work a little bit to make this work. You know, and my opponent deployed really fast too, so what does that tell me? No custodian for one, maybe. Not really much custodian, it was super fast, and it looks like it was just automatically deployed type of fleet too. So maybe this could be underwhelming. right now, like I said, my opponent kind of has this easy. Those could... I wonder if any of those are like all demiurgs as well. That's a possibility too. I'm only aware of the fact my opponent was ready really quickly, which is kind of unusual when you consider the number of frigates that are normally available to a Tau fleet. Never mind like the merchant fleet, which almost always have like a couple of battleships with the grav hooks. And I would love to ambush this thing. Although there's one important thing to keep in mind with the Eldar, even when fighting against Eldar. If your camera's hovering over where they're roughly at, you can hear the Wraithbone shift. This is really damn important if you're trying to pinpoint where the Eldar ships are at, especially if they get careless. So for the upcoming matches, maybe not so much this one, because I feel like I have a perfect opportunity to snipe this frigate right now. It's going to be... You do not want to give away your position since you're relying so much on the stealth, especially as drukhari and especially as the Corsairs. I would argue this is a terrible idea against most opponents though, since they can pinpoint you hell. I even made slight comments about it when I faced off against drukhari playing as Orks and... against Space Marines as well. You made me make comments on that just before I actually engaged the dang drukhari fleets. So that kind of emphasizes it in the at least on the receiving end of that effect. And how, even though I didn't really have time to prepare for it, it at least gives you that early warning. And this thing might die right away. I don't think I... Where the hell are my torpedoes? Okay, so there's some weird latency going on here, even with 21 millisecond ping, good god. But... okay, there are more frigates. I guess my opponent was really good at deploying them or just did some kind of auto-deploy. I'm not sure. Now let's just mitigate the damage best we can. A lot of zigging and zagging is kind of key. Consider how long it takes for these weapons to actually reach me, and when they stagger a lot. It's really easy to actually dodge macro cannons, especially with like the light cruisers at least. Maybe not so much with like the battleship or these cruisers, mind you, but still useful nonetheless. I think that thing's dead. Let me just at least... oh, I can't kill the cruiser because it's hitting right now. And the sucky thing is, I have actually... this is another reason why this is not in my favor. I don't actually have gas clouds or anything to kind of hide at. My cruisers are kind of in a bad position, since with the Shroud effect, I need to reconceal them if I want to be able to keep that permanent visibility going. So this is another reason why this may be awkward for me. I wasn't paying... oh, there's a Crude War Spear too. That should potentially be easy pickings, but I gotta be mindful of these seeker missiles. I can boost and dodge them really well, but it's going to be really awkward for, again, trying to mitigate this damage. And there was a scanner pulse, and my opponent kind of knows what they're doing. It seems like, anyway. Alright, those seeker missiles are gone. I kind of hope my opponent keeps burning the seeker missiles. That gives me a little more freedom to kind of attack some. Now, let's just kill off these frigates. Ideally, I would love to use a Maelstrom to help in this regard. But I don't think it's going to happen very easily. I am taking some light chipping damage. Oop. Oh, what? Oh, I was wondering why you weren't moving. I was assuming all this time you're moving forward, but maybe you're... oh, you reached your destination. That's the only thing I could think of, at least there in that regard. Okay, we're stealthed. All the scanner pulses are gone, but again, my cruisers are in a bad spot as far as contributing so far. I kind of want to grab this point so far, since I think that's almost all the scanner pulse, and I'm hoping that frigate dies. And since I'm marked anyway, this is kind of perfect incentive, isn't it? Again, gotta pay attention to seeker missiles. And if that thing dies, that's added bonus. And I should be able to conceal myself easily enough. Yeah, there's a gas cloud here, worst case situation. I gotta kind of disengage because of the stasis bomb. But that stasis bomb's got burnt. Now let's conceal these ships already so they can actually contribute. Well, I say that and then I whiffed it with my one cruiser. There, this is a really important factor, if nothing else. I still have a nice point advantage. We got seeker missiles coming up, or I thought I heard seeker missiles. but doesn't look like they're doing much. I'm going to get revealed again, so gotta be very careful here. And ideally, before I engage the custodian, I would like to be able to discharge its shield some. So, at least this opponent feels like he knows what they're doing. I gotta make sure I do the damage necessary, though. Oh, it was stasis bomb. I was hoping that was a shield disruptor, so I shot myself in the foot a tiny bit here in this regard. A little unfortunate, but we got torpedoes, though. Now just gotta do the damage necessary. Good hits there. Get turned around. If we kill this custodian, that's a huge boon for me. Hopefully. I just gotta kill his shields off first, because now this thing has no combustion gauge. Yeah, I think this thing's already dead. Potentially. Repair, get going. And let's see, that thing's almost dead. I just gotta finish it off right now. Can I do that? Well, if I'm willing to fly into my own stasis bomb, maybe. Can the torpedoes hit? That will kill it. And then I could conceal myself nicely. Ooh, and remember, this is a mercenary unit. The crew war spear is all but useless in this regard. I just wish I had fired torpedoes before turning, because that was likely a bad torpedo shot. Let's see, I would love to get you out of this. Aww. This is unfortunate. Hell, I have to commend him for what he was doing there. He had the right idea. I had to be the aggressor. Unfortunately, though, you did not use your fighters as a defensive weapon. You had them come after me. I would argue that was probably what cost you. I would argue, at least, since after all, that is 6 fighter squadrons that could have been focused entirely on shooting down my torpedoes. I don't know how many they would have realistically shot down, since I wasn't paying attention to what they were shooting down when they were hovering over my cruisers, mind you, but I feel like that would have helped them tremendously. And that was a bit of a mistake. I did not intend to have the stasis bomb. I wanted the shield disruption. Mainly so that way I didn't have to brute force my way through that shield. And of course, with the custodian having a supercharged forward shield, I don't need to tell you how useful this would be in negating that. So, not only did I want to commend him, despite the complaining there. I feel like that's probably the most competent opponent I played up against, mainly because of the positioning. Hard to really comment on how he played with his fleet, and mechanically and all that, but he had like the perfect layout. It's just, I would really argue the Crew Warspeeder may have not been the best ship to fight against Eldar, since the 83 armor is easily negated by torpedoes and of course the pulsars. If those were protectors or anything else, that probably would have been a lot different story, let alone a lot more scarier, with the more seeker missiles and more fighters and bombers. Ooh, Orks. This is kind of like the complete opposite of each other. My ships are really fragile, almost quite literally, due to their negative trait, and really mobile. Orks, they somehow have ships that can move through space. Don't ask me how that's the case, but they're really hardy, really durable, and they got a lot of weaponry. That will eventually start chipping me down, especially if he has the upgrade that ignores my holofield, which can be awkward. But my torpedoes could still do a lot of work here, and gotta keep in mind, I do have the Fipro torpedoes. While they may not be extreme, being able to deny their extended range with lock-on, or even the brace for impact, will help me kill their ships a lot faster. Hell, the disruption bomb is not as impactful here, since I think most of their ships have only like, 200 shields, maybe 400 for the battleship? I honestly can't remember off the top of my head. I don't think I specifically looked at how much shields the Orc ships even had, to be honest, because that's kind of not why you take the Orc ships in general. Hell, I don't even think there's a faction that relies heavily on having really good shield durability anyway. My Imperial Navy fleet was probably the closest in Armada 1, and that's mainly because I equipped it with a lot of shield regeneration and even the built-in armor for the shields. That would probably be the closest you could get to having shields be useful for durability, because surprisingly, Eldar, being the one that would probably benefit most of having shields, don't actually have it, because they like their hit and run attacks more often than not. Which is kind of what the shields are meant for to an extent, longer range type of engagements and some time to kind of get away and recharge and get their cooldowns back up essentially. Anyways, let's see what... My opponent has a gas cloud here, but nice little window for me to just murder him outright, or at least do a lot of potential damages. Thank God I got the polarized field. I still seriously questioning having this upgrade, because it is kind of random on its effectiveness, but it's at least convenient if nothing else. Ooh, rocks. They're gonna suck just because of they're immune to critical hits, but I can at least destroy everything else. But the rocks I should just straight up avoid, because they're going to be the hardest thing to kill. They're kind of meant to tank, if my use of the rocks is any indication, I want to argue. And what do you have? Lots of boosts? This is kind of an interesting fleet. It's only 2 cruisers in all seriousness, and these are like the regular light cruiser rocks, so the firepower is not really significant, if I were to be honest. So I think I got a good opportunity here. It's just a matter of me destroying them piecemeal. Probably by going after this battleship if I were to be so serious. Again, do I really want to boost? The only thing I don't like about boosting recklessly is I have no idea if my opponent is even aware of that mechanic, so it's probably safer just not to do it. Oh, excuse me. It's probably safer just not to do it so I don't give it away, or at least my opponent doesn't take advantage of it without my knowing. Ideally. And I'm going to have 3 points, so I'm okay in this regard. We have a gas cloud and the battleship's currently hitting there. But I have 2 scanners. I think I'm okay in that regard. Ooh, and another rock. Okay. Let me at least get ready to engage. Oh wow, the battleship... Well, oh, there's the battleship. It just boosted out. As much as I don't like engaging... Okay, hold that thought. He's got like 3 or 4 frigates. Let's keep that in mind too. So the scanner pulses are going to be aplenty. But I have my own scanner pulses. I don't really like shooting at some rocks, but it's convenient nonetheless, especially when my opponent's flying away from me. If I can get fire results, that's a different story, but probably not going to have it here. Safe to assume, just because they're immunity to crids. I just gotta be consistently doing damage, otherwise my orc adversary is gonna have all the points since I'm too afraid to kind of fight his entire fleet. So let's go on in there. He kind of already knows where I'm at, so I'm a little more okay with boosting. It's probably given away when I plan to do an attack run though. And I want to save the torpedoes for the battleship itself, damn it. These rocks are kind of like the worst thing I want to shoot at. And that was a whiff of a scanner pulse, I'm okay with that. Give me lots and lots of damage. I was kind of hoping the pulsars would go do their thing before the shields recharge, because the starcannons would have been amazing for doing that damage. Ooh, this gave me a nice window, and at least to attack the battleship now. Since it's conveniently the slowest ship in the fleet, so you know how well that's going to work. I'm going to well, it's going to likely boost, so I gotta wait till it actually boosts away before I maelstrom, I think. Safe to say. Otherwise, the damage is going to be short-lived. And I gotta keep in mind I'm not engaged with my entire fleet either, due to capturing the point. I'm tempted to maelstrom, but I want to make this thing kind of boost away. It may even have micro warp jump. That's a possibility too. I haven't really considered until just now. Let's fire torpedoes at this thing. Oh, engines are down. This is the perfect opportunity unless he repaired. Engines are permanently gone. This really sucks for my opponent. I feel bad for him in this regard now. Ooh, this might suck for me. I'm going to take light damage. But that's a little unfortunate. I'm getting scanner pulse, so let me try and keep chipping this thing down. Never mind the fact it's the flagship, so the morale issues he's going to suffer is going to be enormous if I could kill that thing. Oh, I feel bad for him. I think is the generator destroyed? Yeah, the generator's destroyed. Ooh. Not that it would have made a difference, mind you. I still feel bad. That was probably not what they were expecting. And these torpedoes are going to strike true. 1, 2, 3, 4. And 2 of these ones, I think. Damn good hits nonetheless, though. But without a doubt, I want to kill this thing. The deck's not gone, though, so let's not get too carried away. Oh, let's get you out. Oh, damn it. I thought my boost was off cooldown, so that's kind of why I fall right into that plasma bomb. Thankfully, the eclipses, I'm going to call them eclipse there, even though technically they're the falls. I guess I might actually get confused between the two. Forgive me a moment. I'm trying to survive here. I'm trying to kill a damn battleship. And I kind of was supposed to kind of conceal my ship too. But we can kill this thing off. Oh, there's a waste of my dang pulsars. That's a little unfortunate. That's one of the situations where holding fire would have been useful if I had thought of it. Still trying to supercharge the void shields. I feel for you, buddy. I really do, but luckily, I got a little bit lucky probably destroying the generator. Now let's get our own generator repaired with that said. I wasn't paying attention, but I assumed my opponent immediately repaired or did something else with their, order command stance. Since that 3-minute cooldown or 2-minute cooldown can be really painful. And now that the morale is heavily crippled, this should be pretty easy. 2 points? Yeah, I still have the point advantage too. I kind of expected the Orks to have grabbed everything else by now. Although my fleet is a little bit scattered, this is going to be tricky. Shouldn't be too bad terrible, since I want to just kill these frigates right now in all seriousness. I just gotta remember which fleet's which, mind you. I'm hitting Group 2 thinking it's the fleet up here, or the squad up here, and not the other way around. But you're gone. We're gonna kill this other frigate easily, blind them, kind of seal the deal as it were. That battleship was a bit of a liability just because of the speed difference, mind you. Although, in all seriousness, with the amount of rocks that there were, I don't think the deck out of lots of guns was actually that intimidating, and outside of potential critical hits with all these lock-ons, which firing torpedoes would be useful in that regard since it cancels out that lock-on. What is the chance of a critical hit on these things anyway? 4%, geez, I should take those things more seriously, good god, that's 16% chance with every hit to critically hit me for crying out loud. That is no laughing matter whatsoever. That could really screw me over, especially if my opponent prioritizes my engines or even the generators. Keep in mind, the generators would completely destroy my holofield. And the reason I say I had 16% chance, where is it? Fragile right there. If you were unaware of it, just doubles the chance of critical hits. So it can be pretty brutal, especially if your opponent's equipped for doing lots of critical hits like, say, Space Marines. And now, we got a bunch of rocks to deal with. I'd love to go after the cruiser if I were to be honest. But let's cap the point. Keep our momentum going. And maybe... Well, this is a perfect opportunity to actually attack the cruiser with the shields down in all seriousness. Hell, let's convince it to boost into my fleet. Maybe? This could be a terrible idea since once it boosts into me and I start my attack run, that could be a horrible mistake. If I were to be so honest. He is boosting the morale at least, but this is a nice isolated cruiser right now.
You have seized a strategic area.
And you don't have mega cannons too, so that's another thing that at least makes my life a lot easier. You remember when I played Orks and faced off against drukhari? That potentially could happen to me there, although there's only 2 cruisers potentially equipped with that. So maybe I'm making it sound a little more tense than it probably should be in all honesty. But again, these rocks are not terrifying. So long as I don't let them get lightning strikes on me, that might be the exception. Since, after all, the Corsairs have really low crew complement, I'm just trying to see how much troop damage it do. 4. Okay. So, I could take a little bit of boarding damage from my cruisers, but the light cruisers and frigates are easy to kill. So, cannot get careless in that regard. But this is over right now, especially 4 rocks. I just gotta keep hammering them down. Especially now that it's used its boosters up. Ah, dang it. I was hoping to at least neutralize that point, so that way it wouldn't reveal my ships when I fly through, for crying out loud. Bit of a mistake on my part. A minor one. Ooh. I am actually doing fire results. This I was not prepared for. I saw immune to criticals, and I assumed that would not be the case. So what's causing these critical hits, I wonder? Since technically that's what those fire results are, after all. Otherwise, ooh, this is a convenient Kisima spot. Let me use it. And can I shoot the... I should probably try prioritizing some. That would help a little bit with the pulsars auto-firing, to an extent. Uh-oh, no! That was a bad misclick. I accidentally told the Hellborn to kind of turn around as it was boosting. So I nearly killed myself with that ram. Never mind the horrible torpedo shot I just did. Otherwise, just gotta get through the sheer health of hit points. Hell, just killing one or two more of these rocks is gonna be enough for me. Since it's already close to the game already. I don't feel... Well, what am I trying to say? I gotta put my words together because I'm worried someone might take this the wrong way. I definitely feel for my opponent because, after all, a completely concealed fleet with all this firepower can be easily frustrated. Hell, Eldar are getting nerfed, so there's maybe some merit to the complaints in all seriousness, but still. This is kind of the route at least I would like to see Eldar play as. I just haven't encountered enough of the Star Cannon build to really comment if that's at least how Eldar are playing with that. They seem to like to just circle around because that's the most easiest way to play Eldar. I don't think that's how they should play unless they're going in for a killing blow, mind you. Their entire fight with the enemy or other factions shouldn't be them just circling around all day. Otherwise, you're just going to burn to death. This should be over once that dies. I'm just wondering, does the points... Yeah, the points apply immediately, okay. I was wondering if there was a bit of a delay. I would like to say good game, but again, I can understand if that seemed frustrating. Especially with 4 rocks that is so easy to outmaneuver. Outside maybe the boost itself. Since the guns, surprisingly, can be a bit of a threat if I'm not careful. Especially since I'm mostly cruisers and frigates, which, if I'm understanding the recent patch the other week, are the most susceptible to taking actual critical hits, where cruisers, battleships, and everything else get at least a little more resilience. So, there's a possibility of RNG screw me over if I don't take the Orks super seriously, or at least any faction seriously. There is that possibility. Ooh, this is going to be interesting. It's time to put what I've been saying about detecting and being aware of what Eldar is to the test. Sort of. Since the Asuryani don't really rely so much on stealth outside their light cruisers and frigates, mind you, but at least you can hear it to be able to at least be able to see what I was talking about before as far as trying to pinpoint where the Eldar fleets are at. But this might be a bad matchup for me just because, again, holofield is really damn good against pulsars, and if my opponent's going to be super aggressive, I'm going to have to try and just fight at extreme range, ideally, and try and pick off whatever free damage I can. This will be interesting. No skills, that could be valuable information for me. Nonetheless, this is going to be awkward. Again, I'm relying... My torpedoes are possibly not likely to hit unless my opponent does not see them coming, and my pulsars are going to be heavily neutered. Forget what I said about the first match about being heavily handicapped. This takes that on a whole new extreme. Good God. Wish me luck. I'm going to need it. I am definitely going to need it, but... Did my opponent seriously go with 4 cruisers? I'm wondering if that's what's happening here. Oh, and I forgot to hotkey group you. Oh, no wonder they weren't moving at all. That's a bit of a letdown. A tiny bit of a letdown, unless I unbind it by accident when I set this to group 2. 1 frigate is all I know. I would love to snipe that frigate. Scanners are going to be my... Denying vision is going to be my greatest weapon in this regard. Even with me being slow to cap the point here. Nonetheless. I'm going to have to play very safe, maybe reveal those ships, since there's not really a lot of... Yeah, there's no nebula clouds, it's just asteroid belts. Uh oh, my opponent's already predicting a good setup there. Or maybe, somehow, our opponent is actually a viewer who somehow is able to read my commentary as I'm going. Good God. There's a good way to mess with my mind, isn't it?
The enemy has
Although there's
seized
a handful of frigates, without a doubt. Oh, you got lances as well. I almost want to just ram you if I were to be so serious.
strategic area.
Well, that was a bit of a letdown on my part. I kept them from grabbing the point at least, but I can use this sort of as bait. Sort of as bait, because I can reveal... Okay, two cruisers. I kind of saw that coming. And they are also starcannons. I gotta be mindful there's probably another frigate around to concern myself with, so free damage is ideal. Oh, it just burnt to death? Or maybe flew in the asteroid belt, since I don't see the polarized field upgrade.
We move together until the end.
This is going to be very minor damage.
Come about with grace.
As you can see, very minor damage.
Swiftly.
But the torpedoes might strike true. Ow. And keep in mind, this is one huge weakness of the cruisers. They only have a single solar sail. So unless that opponent did not repair, that is a huge liability right there.
Ride the solar wind.
Oh, this is convenient.
This is not
So, not really. I'm completely wrong on that fact. It's not as convenient as I make it sound. But engines are gone.
we move.
Try and kill off this one cruiser, ideally.
Let the winds fill.
And there goes my solar sails. Oh, fighters are being annoying.
Ride the solar winds.
I got amazing hits though, good God.
Unseen.
Now let's try and finish this off. At least the one cruiser, that'll be a big deal.
Yes, Commander.
Ooh, and you're stealthed, so you might live a little bit longer.
Swiftly.
And I don't want to get revealed, ideally. Might not be a big deal as I make it sound, but if this thing dies, that helps.
The void is our home.
And I think for the sake of points, you just go grab the points.
Till the end.
Okay,
Swiftly.
this is going to be convenient dodge.
About with grace.
Is it dead? Is it dead? Not quite. I need a couple more Starcam hits.
We serve.
One cruiser down, that's a good start.
Enemy in our sight.
Alright, I'm waiting for you to move. You are really tempting to kill right now.
Commander. Taking new.
That's also really tempting to kill,
You
but
have accumulated 25%
let's try and punish this heavily. Although, there is a bit of a glitch right now with the visual effects of that disruption bomb, I will admit.
We move
But
together.
let's hold fire just in case. I want to murder the hell out of this thing.
As the fates decree. Come about with grace.
The torpedoes sadly are a huge whiff, but
We have dealt a blow.
that is a good hit right there. Now I'm going to have to go straight in for the kill if I want this to work, especially since it's also a flagship.
This is not possible.
And that was painful. What the hell just hit? Oh, did I actually ram the wreckage? Is that what just happened there? That would suck. That my one cruiser just took an amazing amount of damage because of that.
Until the end.
Well, my opponent's conveniently ramming himself, so that's mighty nice of him.
Move together.
Oh, wow. I don't know how I should feel about that in all seriousness. I like to think it was very good at the start, but I feel like if my opponent committed, I would get overwhelmed, since that was a really awkward really awkward position for me, I'm not gonna lie. I feel like my opponent gave up too early. Sure, he may have forgotten his upgrades and skills, but that is a really bad matchup for me. The disruption bomb was essential. Good God. The disruption bomb, later on, if my flagship stayed alive, that would have been key. I rely... If there's any chance of me winning, it's making sure I hit with this thing. Which I'm a little bit surprised my opponent didn't boost out of it. Which maybe it was still on cooldown. I'm going to have to look at that again. But I'll be honest, maybe I got lucky there. And hell, I did a terrible job even listening for the location of his light. Ooh, excuse me. Listening for the location of his light cruisers and his frigates, mind you. So I did a bad job demonstrating the fact you can pinpoint where the Eldar ships are when they Wraithbone shift. So I did a terrible job demonstrating how you can fight against them. I want to argue.